Well, good evening, everyone, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. Quincy Kane Morris here, and this is live stream number 38. And Brad, it's good to have you in the chat. He and I, we were already having a really good discussion about what we're going to be talking about this evening. What does the bass do in metal? And bass is very important. I think sometimes it's very overlooked. But it is very important. And just to clarify the question I was asking, Brad, it sounds like you were saying that you switched to drums. So that's what I was asking. Oh, what did you switch from? Like, what did you do before that now you're doing drums and stuff? But I think that's awesome. It's been a while since I've haven't had a chance to catch up with you and stuff. I remember you and Red were working on some music, so definitely let me know, man. How's all that coming along? What are you working on right now? Just kind of give me some updates. What's going on with you, man? That's correct. I don't have a bass, but we're going to be talking about the role of bass today. While we're waiting for more people to show up, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate a song. So if you've got some speakers that generate the low end nicely. Like if you're listening in headphones or you've got some monitors or like a little speaker, that might be a good thing to listen to. And maybe you can pay attention to the bass in this first song, which is the song I'm going to use as an example when we go in to break down what exactly the bass is doing, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to go ahead and play a song while we're waiting for more people to show up. But while we're waiting, Brad, definitely let me know what's going on. But for the rest of you, anyone watching, let me know. Who are some of your favorite bassists, and do you play bass yourself? And if so, what kind of bass do you have? Let me know in the chat there. I'm going to dive into this first song. This one's called For You. Hear that bass right there.
I know you've coped with this loneliness. You think you're okay, but you've been dragged. I'm out here pleading, but you can't hear me. Your silent screams are deafening. Well, ignore my warning. Just know that I'm sorry for you. And all this time, just know that I've tried for you. Come back to me. I thought I was different, but you made me like them. Begged you to hold on, but you still let go. And from the distance, I can see what's missing, but you never listen, so you'll never know. Well, ignore my warning. Just know that I'm sorry for you. And all this time, just know that I've tried for you. Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me. You're my closest friend and my deepest wound. My most painful scar, and I cherish you. will ignore my warning. Just know that I'm sorry for you. And all this time, just know that I've tried for you. Come back to me.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have a look at what's going on in the chat real quick, and then we're going to dive into our topic. If you're joining us, don't be shy, say hello, and yeah, we're going to get into it very soon. Awesome, Brad. So it sounds like you've got like a full band coming in place. Okay, so when you say Seven Nation Army, do you mean like, is that just the song y'all are currently working on? And are you guys planning to do covers, or y'all doing original songs? Yeah, definitely let me know. And when you guys end up posting some stuff, definitely let me know so I can check that out. But that's awesome. It sounds like you got kind of the band thing coming along. With your comment about the treble and the bass sort of alternating, like when the treble does short notes, bass does long notes, and vice versa. I'm actually not sure what you mean by that, because even the song I was just playing, I mean, if you would consider the guitar treble, you know, and I'm letting notes ring out, like on those palm mutes, the bass is doing the same thing, just letting those notes ring out. And then when I shorten my notes, the bass does the same thing. Now, that's not to say that there aren't situations where the bass might ring out and the treble cuts short, or vice versa, but I wouldn't say that that's always the case, unless I'm misinterpreting what you meant by that. But yeah, I think with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into the topic. And actually, as we're diving in, so I've got a little mic stand here, so I can come a little bit closer. Here we go. Let me... All right, there we go. All right, cool. So now that I'm a little bit closer, now I can kind of, you know, work the computer as I'm talking and stuff. So let's see. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right into this topic here. Now let me know if you guys can see this. So I should be able to show you guys my DAW. So if I click this right now, you should be able to see basically the software that I use. This is where my backing tracks are playing and stuff. So just let me know that you can see that. And I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it. We're actually going to use that first song that I played as an example to break down the bass. Now, if you'd like, so the way these backing tracks work, there's a guitar in the track that's panned to the left, and my guitar, like if I were to play my guitar right now, you'll hear that it's only coming out of the right speaker. So if you're wearing headphones, you'll only hear it in the right. And if I play the backing track and I don't play along with it, the other guitar is playing through the left. So you hear the guitar in the left speaker. So if you would like to hear just the bass and just the drums, if you can find some way to mute that left speaker, you know, just listen through the right speaker, you know, you can do that. Of course, you'll still hear the bass pretty well, even if the guitar is in there, but just letting you know how this is working. The bass and the drums are up the middle, and then, yeah, the guitars are panned left and right. Vocals are also up the middle. So let's have a look at this real quick. So what exactly does the bass do in metal? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So I like to think of the bass as sort of a bridge between the guitar and the drums, because there are certain things that the guitar does that are going to influence what the bass plays, and then there are certain things that the drum does that are also going to influence what the bass plays. So I'll explain that in just a moment here. So let's go ahead and have a listen to this intro, and you'll hear the bass. And I'm going to talk a little bit about bass tone, but not too much. But listen to how like kind of, you know, gritty and clanky this bass is, you know. So that's like the ideal bass tone for metal and stuff. I'm pretty pleased with how that tone came out. But I'm not going to go too deep into this, but if you're looking at bass from an EQ point of view, you're sort of scooping the mids. You're taking out that mid-range information. That's where the guitar lives, so it's making more room for the guitar to shine through. And then the bass, you've got the low end, but everyone thinks the bass is just the low end. That's not necessarily true. You need some treble in the bass as well. You need some high end on the bass. That's what gives it clarity, and that's what helps it stick out. So, you know, even if you were listening to this through, like a phone or something that doesn't generate a whole lot of low end, you could probably still hear the bass, especially in metal. You'll hear that high end that's where more the grit and the distortion of the bass is. And that grit and that distortion, it kind of helps it sort of merge with the guitars a little bit. So when you put the guitars and the bass together, they almost blend in as this one big sound. And that's kind of what makes it sound heavy. You know, without the bass, the guitars, they don't have that bottom end that gives it the body and the weight that it needs to sound heavy. And then the bass, without the guitars, you don't get the bite or the punch or the smack. So there's kind of that balance between those two. That's how they work together. So that's the ideal sort of bass tone. Now, what is the bass actually doing in this track? So first off, the bass is influenced by the guitar riff. This song opens with a guitar riff. I'll go ahead and play the guitar. Okay, so that's the riff. So the simplest thing that the bass can do is just playing the root note of what the guitar is playing. So those chords, I'm playing those power chords. The bass just plays the root note. All right, just like that. So on the bass, you know, if you listen again, that's what the bass is doing. Of course, it's an octave lower than my guitar. So. And now you can see where there's going to be some variations there. The guitars do a squealy. And you probably could do a squealy on the bass. I'm not sure. I haven't really tried it too much. I'm sure there's some people who experiment with that. But in this case, the bass is just holding out the tonic note, you know, the key of the song, while the guitars do that squealy there. So when we continue to listen to this riff, yeah, the bass is just following the guitar. And you can hear... this kind of works as an intro. When the guitar is cut out, you hear that bass there, and it gives like a nice like aggression to the song, but it feels like something's about to happen, you know? It's like, oh man, something's happening, and then everything kicks in. So there's our full mix. And then listen what happens here. The bass cuts out there, and listen how thin the mix sounds. And that's intentional, of course, because we're kind of creating dynamic here. That's important. So the song sort of starts with like this big punch, you know, kind of like almost giving you a taste of what's to come. And then for the first verse, it's like, all right, now the story is starting, and that bass cuts out. It's just the drums and the left guitar. And you can hear and feel that it almost sounds a little empty. It sounds smaller, right? You know? And then listen what happens. After that, the bass is going to come in, and all of a sudden that weight comes back into the song. Here comes the bass. There we go. There's that drive and that aggression again. So during that section, Again, we're kind of creating contrast, which is important, you know, especially in a style like heavy metal. The thing about oh, hey, Stan, thanks for joining us. Yep, we're just getting to talking. We're kind of talking about what the bass does in metal right now. And yeah, not only does AC/DC use a lot of bass, I'd say every band uses a lot of bass. So. Good to replay, definitely. All right, yeah. Well, I appreciate you stopping by to say hello. Definitely enjoy some time with your daughter, and but yeah, you know, hopefully, yeah, maybe let her know about these Thursdays at 6 and stuff. But you enjoy it, or just tell her to join the stream, you know. So, but yeah, you'll have to watch the replay, and I think you would find this an interesting topic since Stan plays bass. Okay, so yeah, so the thing about metal is it can't. If everything's heavy, nothing is heavy, you know? So, like, if the song is just constantly heavy riff after heavy riff after heavy riff, eventually that's going to get exhausting. Like, it's no longer interesting. In fact, everything is relative, meaning that in order for something to be heavy, you need to compare it to something that isn't heavy, you know? So, in a song, when you break things down and it's no longer heavy, that's what's going to make the heavier part sound even more heavy. Like when things kick in, it's going to sound even heavier because you have that contrast, you have that comparison that you can make. So in the case of this song, with everything cutting out, it's just the drums playing that basic beat with the left guitar. It sounds a little more stripped down, a little thinner, a little smaller. And then the bass and my guitar come in just holding out, letting that one note ring out. And that's sort of another like, here we go kind of thing. So yeah, I'll go ahead and play this one second. Bring the DAW back up. All right. So if I play this, small, and now we're going to build it up. We're going to hold out. Oh man, something's coming. And then you can hear the drums. The drums and that pick slide kind of complement each other there. You know, and it feels like it's growing into something. And then we get into a beat. So at that point, the bass is just letting that note ring out. Listen to the bass. And then it comes in on that, when the drums build up, dun, 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 dun. That's in sync with the last part of the riff, though. So dun, 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 and the bass. So everything is kind of playing in sync there, and now we're back into the main riff, and everything's playing together. So listen to that bass. Okay, so basically, when you've got a riff, I'd say the riff is what is mostly influencing the bass. Because the bass is playing the root note of that guitar riff. But now we're getting into a different section. Now we're getting to the chorus. And in the chorus, we switch from a riff to a chord progression. Just a second. Here we go. Cool. So, you know, a riff is like a musical idea. I'm moving around on the guitar. And it's sort of this pattern of notes that I'm creating. But a chord progression, I'm playing one chord, and then switching to another chord, and then another chord. These chords are progressing. So now we're changing. We're no longer playing a riff. And this is where things get interesting, because bass, now we're giving the bass a little more flexibility. And here's where the drums start to influence the bass a little bit more. So, yeah, let me listen to that chorus in just a moment here. Let me bring it back up. Sorry. This is actually my first time, bringing up the DAW and stuff, so forgive me if I'm a little new to this. Okay. So, once again, the guitars are influencing the bass in terms of what note they play, but not necessarily the way they play that note, because it's not following this pattern or this riff anymore. Now it's just a chord progression. So the guitars, I'm playing let's see where this at. I'm in drop C, so it's a G sharp. All right, is what I'm playing. So the bass is playing the root note. But on the guitar, I'm strumming down, up, down, up. But that's not what the bass is doing. Listen to what the bass is doing. I'll play that one more time. Listen to the bass. Okay, with it? Okay, so it's playing a different rhythm. It's not just down, up, down, up. The bass is going. And that's matching with the drums because the drums are playing kick, kick, snare, kick, 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 snare, kick, 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 snare, kick, 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 snare, kick, kick, kick. The bass and the kick drum are like best friends. I've heard it once said, someone commented on one of my videos, and I thought this was a good way to put it. The kick gives punch, and the bass gives sustain to the note. But the two, they team up. And when you have your bass and your kick drum in lock, that's a good recipe for good impact. Like when you want something to be punchy and just and be impactful, you want the kick and the bass to follow each other very closely. So I think that's what's really cool about bass. The note that it's playing is influenced by the guitar. It's playing that G sharp, but the way it plays that note is different from the guitar. It is following the kick drum pattern. So we're playing that G sharp, and then we go to the open C, and the drums do this little dun 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 thing. So both the guitar we're doing palm mutes, and the bass we're just playing, those notes to match up and sync with that. So so that's the first thing. Let's listen to the next chord. After that G sharp, we're gonna go to a D sharp, and then the open C. Okay. So again, on the guitar, what I'm doing, now we get to some palm mutes here. And palm mutes are kind of interesting because I feel like a lot of times palm mutes, not always, but I think palm mutes are almost when the guitar is teaming up with the bass and the kick drum. So when I'm playing an open chord, it's almost like I'm doing my own thing. I'm providing sort of this top end. But whenever I start palm muting, especially in metal, palm mutes are sort of the way that the guitar teams up with the bass and the drums. So listen how they're all going to be playing together at this part here. So after those initial chords. Here we go. And actually, I forgot. So the backing track's playing something different. The backing track's playing lead, but what my part would play there. Do it one more time. Here it comes. Okay, so here's what's kind of cool about that. So the bass, again, is just playing that root note. But if you listen, the bass does take some freedom here. It sort of does this little walk down thing. Does this bum 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 bum. Listen to that. Right here. And what's kind of cool about that, so there's not really a rule there, but all I can say is every now and then music will give you the opportunity, if you're going from one note to another note, especially if you're going down to a note. I mean, it could be if you're going down to a note or an up to a note, but if they're fairly close, then a lot of times music will give you the opportunity as a bassist to hit some other notes along the way, to sort of transition. It's almost like you're walking down to that note or walking up to the note. You might have even heard the term walking bass a few times. Now, this isn't necessarily walking, because if it was truly walking down, it would go, something like that. It's actually going up. You can't really, yeah, so. And then down, so. But either way, it's sort of serving that same purpose of kind of using these notes to transition. Rather, I mean, you could play it. You could just go. Like, that would be perfectly acceptable. But there's enough room there that the bass can have some freedom and do something. And that's the thing. So I want to point out, as a bassist, I would say oftentimes the bass is very much influenced or even dictated by what the guitar and the drums do. Now, that's not to say, like, if you wrote a song on bass, then obviously that's going to inspire, like, what the guitar does. It just depends. It depends on, like, what you're writing and stuff. But usually, especially the way I write, I kind of figure out the guitar stuff and the bass stuff, the guitar and the drum stuff. And because of that, that's going to influence what the bass does, because the bass has to fit in. It's gotta play something that works with the guitars and the drums. But depending on the scenario, there are certain scenarios where the bass is very limited in what it can do, and then other scenarios where the bass has more freedom to be more flexible. So in the case of a riff, the bass is kind of limited. Like, really all it can do is follow the riff. It can't, freestyle and play its own thing. But in the case of a chord progression, there's not as much complexity going on. It's sort of, this chord, even though it's a harmony of several notes, wrong chord. Even though it's a harmony of several notes, they're all playing continuously. They're not moving around, and so there's more room for movement there. So when we come down here, especially now, we're playing just a simple power chord. So there's room for the bass is almost being melodic. The bass is taking the role of the melody. And it doesn't conflict with what the other guitar is doing. The other guitar is doing this, see if I can remember it. While the other guitar is playing up there, they're in two different ranges. So they're not really conflicting with each other. One is down low, one is up high, and so they kind of sit on top of each other nicely. It's easy to sort of identify the two. If they were both in the same range, like if you had too many instruments playing on the low end, like moving around, and they were all hitting different notes, it would sound really big and muddy and jumbled and would not be good. Just by nature, lower notes, like if you've ever played a piano before, if you play a chord on a piano, like in the middle of the piano, it sounds fine. And if you go down a little lower, same chord, but go down an octave lower, it might still sound okay, but it starts to sound a little crammed. And then if you go down lower, those notes can start to sound really muddy, and it can be really hard to discern what is the chord anymore. And it's almost like the lower the notes get, I think it's actually physics or something, but the thicker they get. And so when you try to harmonize low notes, there's not as much room for them. So the closer the notes are together, the more they're going to clash, the more they're going to muddy up. Whereas when you go up higher, the notes are thinner. And so there's plenty of room. You can play like these really complex chords and blend them in on the high end because there's more room for that kind of flexibility. But that's not the case in the low end. So when you're thinking in the case of a full band, in this situation, there is room. The only really complicated thing that's happening is the melody from the other guitar that's happening way up on the high end. So there's a little more room for the bass to kind of move around and do some things there. So that's just something to think about. Like, you want to explore those, those movement patterns that you can have. Like, what are some fun things that you can do on the bass? But if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, that might be what you want to keep in mind. It could be because there isn't enough room to do something like that. So let's see here. Oh, hey, Daniel, thanks for joining. Just stopping by to say hello, celebrating a birthday today. Wait, celebrating? Okay, a birthday. I didn't know if you were saying it was your birthday or someone else's, but if it's yours, happy birthday. If it's someone else's, have fun. But we'll watch the stream later. Well, I appreciate you stopping by to say hello. Definitely going to miss having you on this stream, but, at least I got Brad with me, so... What's gent? Brad, I'm going to answer those questions in just a moment here. In fact, I'm almost done with this discussion, and then I'm going to dive into another song. I'm going to kind of wrap up here. But those are a couple examples of how the bass is sort of influenced by what the guitars and the drums are doing. When the guitars are playing a riff, the bass is following more so the guitar. When it's just a chord progression, the bass is following the root note of the guitar, but it's following the rhythm of the kick pattern from the drums. And there's some freedom there to kind of move around. Let me see if there are any other parts to highlight real quick, and then we're going to wrap up this topic and go into another song and just some general discussion here. So let's see here. Let's have a listen. Walk down. Make a match here. 1, 2, 3. Dun, 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 dun. Now here's what's kind of interesting. So that first kick pattern, the dun, right here. Notice the bass is letting those notes ring out. Well, what's kind of funny is when I was writing this, I tried out two different things. I tried out letting the notes ring out, but I also tried doing them short. Okay? And I listened to both of them, and I was like, man, I like both of them. So what I decided was I would use the ringing out in the first chorus. So this is the first chorus. So the notes are ringing out. But in the second chorus, if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Listen in the second chorus. Right here. Now the notes are short, and you get kind of a different effect. So that's something to keep in mind too. You know, whenever you're playing in sync like that, like on a kick drum pattern, you might experiment with letting the note ring out or, you know, cutting it short like that. So again, you know, following the pattern and then just cutting it short instead of letting it ring out. And, you know, there are situations where one works better than the other. So you really just got to try them out and sort of decide for yourself which one you think works better for the song. In this case, you know, they both sounded cool. And in general, in songwriting, it's nice, like, it's good to have some variation among your courses, especially so the listener can kind of tell where they're at in the song. Like, you don't really want chorus 2 to sound exactly like chorus 1. It might be the same chord progression, might be the same rhythm, but anything you can do, like if you can add some kind of element or some variation just to kind of differentiate the two, that's a pretty good technique to use in songwriting. Let me see if there's anything else I'd like to highlight here. Oh, here's an interesting spot. Oh, sorry. A little far. Listen to the bass here. Could you hear how the bass was hitting some higher notes there? So the bass and the kick are definitely best friends, but the snare is sometimes a part of that group as well. One really cool trick, and this doesn't always work, but a lot of times it does, the snare can often influence what you do with the bass. So in that case, what the bass was playing is the C sharp. Sorry, C sharp, D, F. C sharp, F. Okay, so as the bass was playing that, the drums were kind of doing this bop, bop. Let's see, what are the drums doing there? Because I'm pretty sure the... Sorry. So yeah, it's kind of this downbeat with the snare. Snare, snare, snare. The snare's hitting that downbeat. So what's happening, the drums are kind of... Or sorry, the bass is hitting the octave. So here's the root note, and here's the octave, and so that can be kind of a cool thing to do. And in this example, the drums are playing a consistent beat, but a lot of times in songs, if you've heard my song Say That It's Over, what the bass actually does there is it plays a root note, and then it goes up to the octave right on the snare hit, so it's going, you know, or something like that, you know. So that's a cool trick to keep in mind when you hear that snare. Sometimes that's an opportunity to an opportunity to play octaves with the bass and kind of alternate between yeah, the octave of those two notes. So that's a pretty cool trick right there. And then I think it's just kind of ringing out here. Yeah, I think the last thing we might look at, we'll go ahead and look at the last chorus just to sort of compare. I was talking about variations in the chorus. Listen to what happens here. So the first differentiation is that everything cuts out, it's just my guitar, and then the band kicks in on that right there. And then listen to this. So that's actually the same, the drums and the guitar are doing the same, or sorry, the bass and the guitar are doing the same thing, just like we did in the first chorus. But the drums are playing a halftime beat now. Instead of doing, instead of the snare hitting like that, it's more like, it's a halftime beat. And let's see here. Oh my goodness, you're watching me the whole time, so I meant to bring up this dog again, sorry. Let's see here. And then listen to this part. Here's where some double bass comes in, or some double kick drum. And if you listen to the bass during that, now there's a good example. So the kick drum is doing its double bass there, so that but that's actually not what the bass guitar is doing. The bass isn't going. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about before, that the physics of the notes being lower. If the bass did that, it would probably just be rumbly and kind of too muddy. It'd be hard to discern. The kick has a little more smack to it, and it depends how you produce your kick. Some people do have a very subby kick with a lot of low end, but in metal, usually the kick has a lot of smack and a lot of punch. So yes, there's low end in the kick, but it's a very tight low end. So that enables the kick drum to do that double bass without sounding too rumbly or too muddy. But for the bass guitar, what works better is just to play halftime. So the double kick is still influencing what the bass guitar plays, because if you listen, the bass is playing. It's just playing those constant, I don't know if those are quarter notes or eighth notes or what, but So listen one more time to this double bass section. No, sorry, it's right here. All right, cool. So yeah, so hopefully that kind of gives you an example of just in a typical metalcore song, like what does the bass do, and hopefully that kind of shows you how the different elements of the song influence the bass's part and some of the things they do. I don't want to spend too much time talking on this, so I'll have to do this again. There was more I could have broken down, and if you really want, I can revisit it. But I'm going to dive into some songs here, and then just have some general conversation with you guys. So let's see what's going on in the chat, and then I'm going to dive into another song here. Oh hey, Game Blast. Does he play bass? Does he talk to us? Oh, Game Blast. I don't know if you're still here or not. Jacob. Okay, cool. Yes, I am going to talk to you. But usually when awesome. Hope you're still, Jacob, if you're still there, please say hello. Your name is Jacob. Okay, cool. Yeah, and now I'll talk to you guys. So typically it's almost like I don't want to call it a lecture, but when I have a topic, I'll explain the topic, and then we'll have some conversation afterwards and stuff, and I'm going to play a few songs for you guys. Let me kind of catch up and see what's going on here in the chat. Oh, so Jacob, sounds like you... Oh, so you are the bass player in you guys' band. That's awesome. Which I think you guys... What style music would you say you guys play? Is it just rock, or would you say it's a kind of metal? Okay, so gent. How is gent different than palm muting? Gent is just a sound. So here's regular palm muting. I said that weird. Palm muting. And you put your palm on, and it sort of mutes, but the note still resonates. But djenting, all you do is you just move up, like you kind of move up a little more. If I move up too far, you can hear you lose the note, and now you're just muting it. But if you move up just a little bit, it kind of tightens it, so the resonance isn't so low. It's a little tighter, and that's how you get that. Like, djent is to describe the sound. Djent, djent, djent. Djent is not really a genre of music, but it's almost become one. There are definitely a lot of styles of metal that use that djent sound. But even me, like, my style of music is not djent, but I like to use that technique a lot because you get some really tight palm mutes. Okay, so you guys play a lot of genres. Oh, that's still really cool, though. I will say, I mean, if you guys are just doing it for fun, then definitely do that. And especially if you're planning on doing, like, covers, I think that's fine. But if you're trying to, like, make a career out of this, then you might want to settle on some kind of sound just so people know what to expect from you. But that just depends on, what you guys want to do. But yeah, so that's djent. Hopefully that makes sense. So here's regular palm muting. Here's djenting. And again, I like to use it from time to time. It depends. If I'm doing like a really heavy thing and I want something to just ring out, I'll do regular palm muting. But if I want something kind of shorter and tighter, I'll use that djent technique. So it does come in handy. Let's see here. Hello. Yep, so cool. Yeah, so hopefully Jacob's there. Hopefully he'll come back. Sorry if I didn't get to acknowledge you right away. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'll learn from that. Maybe I'll try to keep an eye on that chat a little easier when I'm discussing something, just so I can say hello to anyone new who stops by. All right, I'm going to dive into another song, but if you have any questions about that bass stuff or just anything in general, if there's anything else you'd like me to explain as far as the role of the bass, whatever questions you might have, just let me know and I'll answer them. I'm going to go ahead and dive into another song here, and we'll go from there. This one is called Get Up Again. All right, let's move this mic back here. There we go. Now we're back in performance mode. Yeah, pretty much. Calling a genre djent, is like calling, a hip-hop song like, oh, this is we play boom boom music, so it's like, that's a good little illustration there. This one's called Get Up Again. And maybe pay attention to the bass. Hear how it's the same as the guitar and how it's different.
Down on the floor, you've been here many times before. You can't ignore the time in hand is running short. No end in sight, and nothing's going right. Why even try? There's nothing left inside. not much further left to crawl. No end in sight, and nothing's going right. Why even try? There's nothing left inside. It always hurts to lose what you wanted, but it feels worse to never have tried it. It's not the first and won't be the last time, so get up again. Don't back down. Stand your ground. Get up again. And again. Oh.
Thank you. Yeah, kind of like I was mentioning before. I do know that I quite like that song actually. How to? And I'd have to listen to it to kind of compare and stuff. But you're right that when they're playing the exact same thing, especially because I think the guitar. Oh, thank you. I think the guitars are playing single notes too. I don't think they're playing chords. They might be. So yeah, when they're playing single notes, it just kind of, it almost sounds like one big note, instead of like chords from the guitar and then like this low note from the bass. When they're both just playing single notes, it's kind of just an octave and it almost blends in as like one big note. And sometimes that's, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing though. It's an effect to be aware of. Sometimes you want that effect of everything sounds like this one big note, and then sometimes you want that differentiation. You are right though that things kind of blend in, but I think you can probably hear the bass better than you might realize. And that's the thing about the bass is it's so important, but it's not necessarily meant to be in the spotlight, and I think that's why it gets overlooked. With our praise band at our church, I tell the bass, like, if you play the bass right, no one's going to notice. No one's going to notice when you play the bass right. But when you play the bass wrong, if you hit a wrong note or you're not playing when you're supposed to be, everyone will notice. And so that's kind of the compromise, is like, it's so important, especially when it does its job right. Like, its job has so much influence over the whole thing, but it doesn't necessarily get recognized for doing the right thing, Again, that's why I was kind of saying in our discussion earlier, a lot of times the guitar and the drums, they kind of get the spotlight. Like, everyone notices the guitar, everyone notices the drums, but the bass is doing so much for the song, and a lot of times it doesn't really get noticed. I think it's probably maybe styles like hip-hop, even hip-hop, though, like, I think sometimes when they say they like that bass, sometimes they might mean more so the kick drum, the bomb, just like a heavy kick drum kind of thing. But definitely some of the actual, like bass instrument, bass note. But yeah, it is. It's kind of one of those instruments that maybe doesn't get that appreciated. But again, it's like in that example, you might not notice the bass standing on its own, but if the bass was not there, that song, Animal I've Become, it would not, it wouldn't sound as good if it didn't have the bass in it. So just because the bass doesn't stick out doesn't mean it's not having a big influence on the song. Jacob, glad you're joining us. Tell me a little bit about yourself. It sounds like you play bass. What kind of bass you got? And yeah, I'll definitely have to check out that video. Is it on your channel, Jacob? The Seven Nation Army video. I'll be sure to check that one out. Don't worry about spamming. Yeah, I definitely, I like, that's kind of what's fun about these streams is I like getting to meet the people, and I like chatting with you guys. Again, if you're new here, so typically I like to have a topic with the stream, and I'll use a segment in the beginning to discuss that topic, but then afterwards it's pretty much just like a conversation. I'm going to play a few more songs for you guys, but in between songs, I enjoy the conversation with the chat. So actually, I encourage it. Don't feel like you just gotta sit and watch. You're certainly welcome. If you have any questions, like I love that. If you have questions or just any any topics you'd like to kind of dive into, typically that are music related and usually with metal, but it doesn't have to be metal specific. But yeah, I just enjoy the conversation. So definitely thanks for joining. Don't worry about being too spammy or anything like that. But yeah, I'll definitely check out that video. If you guys, it sounds like that's what y'all have made. Or now, did you guys do that as a band, or was that something that you did separately? And by Seven Nation Army, you do mean the what is it? Sorry. That one, right? But yes, if you do have any more questions or anything, just let me know. And yeah, definitely kind of update me on what you guys have been working on and what you're looking forward to doing next. Just some updates from me real quick. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Oh, actually some really exciting stuff. So I'm trying to get into live shows. Like obviously I'm doing live streams, but I'm wanting to start playing some live gigs locally in my local town and stuff. And I am a one-man band, so it's going to be kind of similar to the streams where this is my rig here. I'm going to have my laptop and just my interface that I plug into, my compressor. So the mic I'm using right now, I'm actually borrowing this from my church, but I've got a microphone, but I don't have a mic stand. So I just placed a pretty big order. I've got like certain components coming in that I need. So I got a mic stand coming in. I've got some extra cables. I've got like a clipboard coming in so that I can print out papers to get people to sign up for my email list. That's pretty important. Just building an email list so that I can contact people and keep them updated on what I'm doing, let them know when I've got other shows and things like that, merchandise, that kind of thing. What else? A table, for my... I call it, it's a merch table, but I'm not going to have a whole lot of merchandise at first. Pretty much all I'm going to have at the table is just a place for people to sign up for my email list and a tip jar. And then I'm trying to come up with something to kind of give people. I'd like to have a free gift to kind of give out. I'm actually working on a logo too. Oh, that's actually something, I'll talk to you guys about that in a little bit. But I'm trying to work on a logo for myself, something that I can put on guitar picks and put on T-shirts and that kind of thing. And so eventually I'm gonna have guitar picks. And one of the first pieces of merchandise I'm thinking of doing, again, a lot of this I kind of have to test out, and that's what I'll say. So I had a band once with some friends years ago. We had a band called At War With Myself, and my friend, he made this awesome design for a shirt. and he printed all these shirts out, but like I don't think we sold any of them, you know. And it's because like we didn't have an audience yet, you know. We were still, you know, young and stuff. Like now we gave out a few, and the people who got them liked them, but so I think those shirts would have sold eventually, but I think just that early in our career, like we did not need that many shirts. So that's the one thing I'll say is like if you're ever in a situation where you're thinking about merchandise, you know, you kind of want to test the waters a little bit first. Don't just like buy 100 shirts to sell. You know, make sure like people are going to want to buy shirts before you start making them, because, you know, it costs money to make that stuff. So you just want to be smart with like what you're investing in first. And I think you want to start with like, what do you need just to get going? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Like my first couple shows, it's not just about how do I make money? Like, yes, that's important. But right now I just want to be functional. I just want to make sure like I can actually put on a show and actually connect with the people in the audience and stuff after the show. So once I got that worked out, then I can start looking into, you know, more and more ways to profit from that. Cool stuff. So yeah, so that's probably the most exciting thing that's going on with me. I'm starting to make some, and you know, to me it's exciting. I don't know if it's that exciting to anyone else, but yeah, just I placed a big order, got all this stuff coming in to kind of get me started, and I'm not sure what the next step is. I got to wait till all that stuff comes in first. There's still a few more items that I might need to get, and I technically have a gig coming up in a few months. So I'm definitely trying to be prepared before. I actually want to be well prepared before that, and I wouldn't even mind seeing if I can get another gig before that one, so that I can, you know, something like a smaller gig that I can kind of use as a test run. So we'll see. So that's like the main thing going on with me right now, and I'm continuing to work on this collaboration. I think I told you I am working on a new song to release. I can't talk too much about it because I don't really know. Like, it's not just my own song. If it's my own song, I'd tell you all about it, but it's a collaboration with someone, and so hopefully it'll go through, but, you know, there's the possibility that, like anything can happen, you know. So we'll see, but hopefully I'll have some new music. My most recent release, I don't know if you saw it, but I did release a song called Say That It's Over, and that's available wherever you listen to music, Spotify, AppleMusic, Amazon, you know, wherever, even here on YouTube. But it's a song called Say That It's Over that I released recently. I actually made a video for it too, of me, a one-man band video just playing all the instruments and stuff. So if you haven't heard that song yet, definitely check it out. Final Eclipse sounds cool. Now, are you guys... where are you guys kind of posting stuff? Are you going to have a designated YouTube page for Final Eclipse, or Brad, are you just posting it on your page, or Game Blast, are you just posting it on your page? And yeah, you know, kind of tell me a little bit about your band. I'm going to go ahead and dive into another song here, but tell me a little bit about Final Eclipse. Like, what are you guys, what are y'all currently working on? What are y'all hoping to do? What are y'all looking forward to putting out? And where are people going to be able to see your content, like your songs or videos or whatever it is you make, you know? Tell me a little bit about that. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into another song here. So I was just talking about this song. The next song on my set list. This is the one that I've released most recently. This one's called Say That It's Over. Hope you like it.
Your smile so deceptive that it almost looks real. Well, it must be hard to fake what you do not really feel. You're hiding, I know it. Tell me what's on your mind. I only wish to help. Won't you back inside. Say that it's over. Tell me the truth just one last time. I promise I'll help you. If only you'll let me back inside. Let me inside. Your face shows no reaction when I call out your name. Your presence like a ghost. You seem so far away, and you know that I love you, but the words seem to have died. I just want this to end. Please let me back inside. Say that it's over. Tell me the truth just one last time. I promise I'll help you. If only you'll let me back inside. Let me inside. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't drift your eyes. Just look at me when I look at you, because you must realize you're barely holding on, and I'm holding tight. Would you just please try? Don't give in. You have to fight. Why won't you hear my cry? I don't wanna say goodbye. Say that it's over. Tell me the truth just one last time. I promise I'll help you. If only you'll let me back inside. Say that it's over. Tell me the truth just one last time. I promise I'll help you. If only you'll let me back inside. Say that it's over. And I don't wanna hear another lie. I just wanna help you. Please won't you let me back inside? Thank you. Okay, cool. So you've all got YouTube channels, and you're all just sort of posting on, I guess, on all of them. Which that's not a bad strategy, actually, since there's 4 of you, for each of you to have like your own channel and post stuff. But it might be good. Again, I don't know if you guys are just doing this for fun, or if if you're trying to kind of have some sort of career out of it, or like side gig out of it. It might be good to have like a home base at some point where your audience can find find all your stuff. But that's not a bad strategy either. Having multiple channels. And sort of, having more versions of your video instead of just the one version of your video. You've got several places, especially if each of you like does something unique with your channel. Like Brad, again, being the drummer, maybe you've got like some drum content, but then you post your band content on there. And then Jacob on your channel, if you kind of post some bass stuff, but then again, you post your band stuff. That's not a bad strategy right there, to kind of have your own exclusive content for yourself personally, and then to post your band content collectively on all your channels. So that's pretty cool. Hey, let me ask you guys. I'd love to get your feedback and your opinion. So again, these topic videos that I've been doing, just so you know, part of the reason I'm doing videos like this, I've been doing the streams for a while, but my biggest goal right now is to build an audience. And
But just because I'm streaming, like, how do people find me? That's the question. And YouTube is a search engine. So if you can, make content that people are actually searching for, that's a good way to get found. So my past few streams, that's kind of what I've been experimenting with, is trying to do these topics that people might be searching for. About band arrangement or songwriting or production or, whatever it might be, being a solo artist, that kind of stuff. So with that said, what are some topics that you guys would be interested in discussing? What if you have any ideas for future videos that I could do, things that I could discuss, things that you'd like to talk about, or questions that you have that you wonder about that are related to, music and metal, or just as a band, or whatever it might be. If you have any topic suggestions, I'd love to hear them. So definitely kind of let me know if you have any ideas of some things that you would be interested in hearing about, and I'll definitely make an effort to do an episode dedicated to that. Now, while you guys might be sharing some suggestions, um, let's see here. I might have one other thing I'll ask you while you're here. So, like I said, I am working on a a a logo. So, what I'm planning to okay, so I've done a little bit of graphic design. I'm definitely not a graphic designer. But just out of necessity, I've had to do it before. Like for an album cover, I've had to kind of learn how to edit it, and even for like my own channel banner and that kind of thing. That's like the extent of my graphic design ability. But I'm definitely not. It's not something that I can just do. At a whim, or like that I just do for fun. It's more like I do it out of necessity. So when it comes to designing a logo, the first thought is like, yes, it'd be nice if I could just design one, just myself. Just design a logo and not have anyone else involved. Just be able to do it myself. But the software used for that, like, I'm not very mobile in the software. Like I can't get around very easily. I always have to look up a video to learn how to do something, and it just takes a long time, and it's a lot of work for an end result that I'm not even like that crazy about. So I'm actually looking to collaborate on this. I think I'm gonna hire a graphic designer to help me, but I did have some ideas. So like I was kind of working on some stuff. So I'm going to show you a picture a moment here. This is kind of an idea I have for a logo. So please don't judge it too harshly. This is totally a draft, and it's totally a concept. Like the final version could be completely different from this, but this is like my initial idea of the brand or image I want to use. So I'll go ahead and bring up the picture, and I'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, so here are the logo idea, and basically my name is Quincy Kane Morris. That is the brand. So my initial idea really starts with that first symbol there on the top right left. It's the circle and the triangle. That's supposed to be a Q, and it's supposed to be a little artsy. Like I don't think people need to see it right away and recognize that it is a Q, but I just thought that was kind of a neat way to present that letter, especially since Q is such a strange letter to begin with. But yeah, kind of this circle and this triangle, and you can see there's a few ways I could do it. I could have the triangle cut out in the middle so that there's that space there, or I could just leave it solid like you see in the middle on the bottom there. No cutout in the middle. I could also outline the shape rather than doing something solid. I could outline it. And then for the K and the M, there are definitely other variations that could happen. I'm still working on the K a little bit, but I do think maybe a big triangle, it might have to be tweaked a little bit, but just that block and that big triangle kind of make the K. And then the M, I might have the triangles together. I might separate them more. There's a few different variations I could do with that. Now, this is like the concept, but there's so many things you could do with this. So first off, the color isn't necessarily the final choice. It could be a different color. Even there might be a texture on the image. It might not just be a solid color. It might be like fading into another color. Each symbol might be a different color. There might be almost like a grit, to it or something. And And the other thing I was thinking was maybe, having I'll probably have my name in small text underneath. So it's the QKM as sort of the symbol, but then under each one it says Quincy, Kane, Morris. A few other suggestions, like I've posted this on social media and gotten some pretty good feedback from other people. Someone was saying Q is probably the main one, so maybe Q should be in the middle, and maybe it should be a little bit bigger than the others. And so I thought that was kind of a neat idea. And then I could, if I were to do that, I could put Quincy underneath the Q, and then underneath that, kind of off to the left and the right, I could do the Kane and the Morris. So that's sort of a different way to arrange it. What else? Oh yeah, and someone mentioned that they thought the Q kind of reminded them of a compass a little bit, and I was thinking about that. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And if it were somehow a compass, and the M's to me almost kind of look like mountains, so almost like a adventure themed thing. But I'm not really sure. Now, along with all of this, keep in mind that I am trying to promote myself as an alternative metalcore artist. But I am trying to stand out. One way I think I stand out from the hundreds of other bands out there is, one, I'm a solo artist. So it's not like, it's not a band. I am trying to promote myself as a single artist and as kind of a one-man band. So that's already a little bit different. But two, I'm trying not to follow the exact same aesthetic as all the other bands, because I want to stand out. I want it to be something that looks like it matches with my music, that matches the tone and the drive. But I want it to be something that that kind of stands out, like even a basic example of standing out. Like just a basic example of standing out. I went to a show not too long ago. It was a metal show, and it was a local show, so not big bands or anything like that. But all the bands that were there, they were all wearing black. And I know black's great. I love black. Black's great for metal. But the problem was, after they played their set and they came down, I would forget like what they looked like, and I didn't know who was in what band. Like they just blend in with the crowd, and everyone in the crowd is like wearing black. So one thing I've sort of decided is, like, when I'm playing shows, I'm not going to wear black. I'm going to wear different colors. I might wear red. I might wear blue. Whatever. But I'm not going to wear black because I want people to, I want that to stick out. And so when I'm done with my set and I go down, people can easily recognize, hey, here's that guy, the red shirt that's going to catch their eye, quicker than me blending in with black. And then they'll say, oh, hey, he was the guy on stage, So that's sort of an example. So I'm sort of trying to do the same thing with my brand. Like, I don't want it to be obviously, metalcore and stuff. I want it to work with that style of music, but I still want it to be something that kind of sticks out. So, yeah, so if you have any thoughts, I definitely appreciate your feedback. So that's a pretty interesting topic right there, how to make a new music genre. And to be honest, that's a pretty, like, that's a pretty, it's a really interesting thing to explore. I definitely think that should be, maybe we'll discuss that and stuff. But I don't think that's something that, how do I say? All right. So if I were to teach someone like how to make a metal song, you can do that. There are certain tips on how to make a metal song, and you're free to I can talk about like how to write riffs, how to find inspiration, how to dial in a tone, how the instruments work with each other. I can talk about that. But then when you say something like how to make a new genre, that's almost like saying how to create a new fad or how to create a new trend, how to you're asking for something that almost has to happen by luck. Like I don't think people are looking up, like, it's not like everyone's inventing a new genre all the time and stuff. Genres sort of emerge almost naturally or gradually. So my short answer to that, I would say, and we can certainly explore this in a future video even deeper, but my short answer to that would be, I think you've got to draw inspiration from other sources first, and you've got to find things that complement each other, but things that don't obviously complement each other. So so kind of so an example of something that I think went bad. Have you heard like modern country when they blend like country music with hip hop? That's like the worst. I mean, if people like that, fine. They have the right to like it. That's fine. But to me, it's just like that is not a good combination. That's like that's awful. Um, but the idea is right. The idea of maybe looking at two different genres, but I think how that would work better is rather than directly taking those two genres and trying to merge them into something, um, I think what would work better is looking at elements of that genre, like maybe like maybe you take the twang from country, like maybe some bluegrass instruments, but then you put a hip hop beat to it. Um, and that's subtly different. But you don't play like this upbeat, positive country. You got to play something a little grittier, a little grungier, almost like a darker, not straight. It can't be directly country. It can be country influenced, but it's got to be something different, and it's got to be something that's going to complement the elements that you're taking from hip hop. So that would be my suggestion: is you're looking for things that are different, and again, like I said, that are not obviously complementary, but you're trying to find things that are like, hey, these kind of fit well together. And that would be what I would start with to kind of create a new genre. I mean, you definitely have to be influenced from something. And a lot of times, new genres, the other way to create a new genre, I think new genres are oftentimes a response to what is trendy. So I think of grunge. Grunge was sort of a response to the rock music scene at the time. 80s hair metal bands, that's what was big at the time. It was glam rock. They were in costumes, big hair and makeup, and this big show, and it was all like, the music was really kind of upbeat and kind of just sort of just fun. Grunge was a response to that. Instead of the big hair and getting all dressed up, they were just wearing like t-shirt and jeans and just whatever they happened to be wearing. And instead of like being so showy, it was more about being like raw and emotional. And the music, instead of being like, all about guitar solos, it was more about just like being grungy and aggressive. And so it was sort of a response to what was happening. So that would be the other thing you could do. You could look at what's popular right now, and how do you do like the exact opposite of that, essentially. So those would be my initial thoughts on how to create a new genre. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining. I'm just reading the chat here, so I'll read your comment again, but I appreciate you tuning in. Brad, I appreciate the offer for logos. I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you're on social media anywhere. I'm also on because I don't think YouTube allows you to send like just like messages to each other and stuff. But on Instagram, if you wanted to send me some messages there, or my email, just Quincy Kane Morris at gmail.com. If you wanted to send some images, I would definitely check them out. I appreciate you offering. Let's see. And also, Brad, when you say what inspiration, I don't know if I answered that when I was talking, or if um, you might expound on that. What are you asking there? What do you mean by what inspiration? Steve, I'm a little confused. Are you asking a question like how to play through a whole song? Because I thought that's just kind of what you do, you know. Now, if you mean like, are we talking a one-man band? So when I say one-man band, I mean that I'm playing all the instruments, not at the same time, but when I write the songs, um, you know, when you watch my playthrough videos, I'm performing all the instruments and just cutting. But they're just regular songs. It's just I'm just writing the song as one man band. I write the drum part, I write the guitar part, I write the bass part, all of that. And then when I'm performing here, I'm just singing and playing guitar, and then the backing track, I've made the backing track, but it's a whole song. It has an intro, it's got verses, it's got choruses. It's not just a chorus. So I don't know. You might need to clarify that a little bit. I'm not sure if you're asking a question or what exactly you're trying to get at. Elise Trowell. I have to look that up, but yeah, I know there's kind of two ways you can define one-man band. I know there's like the performance one-man band where it's like the guy who's got like a big drum on his back and and he's got like multiple instruments and got these kind of goofy ways where he moves his whole body and can play these multiple instruments. But for myself, it's certainly the fact that I can play multiple instruments, not all at the same time, but I know more than one instrument. One-man band is in the sense that I am the band. I'm writing all of the parts, and then in the videos I make, I play each individual part. Yeah, so I don't know if are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you a one-man band? Do you play multiple instruments, and you're kind of wondering how to write a whole song? Yeah, is there something I can help you with as far as what you're trying to accomplish musically? I appreciate you joining, so definitely tell me a little bit about yourself. In fact, why don't I go ahead and dive into another song here? I'm going to go ahead and play a song, but Steve, go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what instrument or instruments you play. Let me know what questions you might have about music. I love, this is my favorite part, is just the conversation, and if you have any suggestions for topics, things that you'd like to discuss in future episodes and things like that, definitely let me know. Let me know, what are some of your inspirations as far as music goes. Yeah, kind of fill me in on what's up with you. This next one's called Brothers to the End.
Unbreakable, bonded by our passion, undeniable, brothers till the very end. Just a bunch of outcasts, only meant for slaughter, but we will overcome this if we can band together. Look into my eyes, grab a hold of my hand, remember who we are, brothers till the very end. Remember who we are. till the very end, stripped of all its meaning. And now it's just me. And now it's just me. Distant fragments, shattered pieces. Thank you. Okay, cool. So, Steve, it sounds like you play multiple instruments, but you're trying to find a way to kind of play through a whole song and stuff. um, what style of music do you play? As you can hear, I play metal, but what I am doing, I've had to make these backing tracks. So, all right. I love songwriting. Songwriting is what I am passionate about. That's my favorite thing to do. But when I started learning about recording was great. Learning that was the most exciting part. Learning how to record and just hear my songs come to life. Because even so, that song I just played. If I'm just playing on guitar. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So if I'm just playing guitar, the song I just played. If I just play it on the guitar. We're unbreakable. Suddenly it's not quite as interesting. And if you're like me, as a songwriter, like I can hear the other instruments in my head, but I can't show anyone because it's just in my head. It's like, how do I get it out? How do I show people what I hear in my head? And so the exciting thing about recording is that it enables you to do that. You can record each part individually, and then you sit back and you hit play and you listen to them all play at the same time, and it's like, wow, that is music, hearing my idea come to life. It's no longer in my head. It's something, I don't know if you call it physical, but it's something that you can hear. It's something sonic, it's something that people can actually hear, and you can bring your idea to life. That was always the most exciting thing. But then when you start comparing your recordings to professional recordings, you start to realize, yeesh, my music sounds so bland. It sounds so amateur in comparison. This mix sounds so powerful and punchy and bright, and it's so loud. My mix is like quiet and dull, and it's like, what's wrong with it? Why doesn't mine sound like the professional mix? And so out of necessity, I sort of had to learn about music production. I had to learn how to mix, and I had to learn how to get the best recordings you could get. And that was a struggle. That was hard, because it's not really the same thing. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. The only reason I went through all that was because I just wanted to bring my ideas to life. And what I can say is, I went through it, and since then, I'm pretty pleased. Like, I'm definitely not the best music producer ever, but that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be a music producer. I just want to be a songwriter. But I think my songs, I think they sound high quality. I think they are very much in the ballpark of professional mixes. I'm sure there are plenty of mixes out there that are better than mine, but, for the average listener, they can hear my song for what it is. There's nothing distracting, like, why is that mix so quiet, or why is it so dull, and that's all that mattered to me. So I say all that to say this. First off, do you have any recording experience? Do you have any recording software?
because I would encourage you to start learning how to do that, to start recording your ideas, especially if you play multiple instruments. And I'll certainly do my best. I'd love to kind of help you out and sort of pointing you in the right direction on how to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Even there's probably going to be a few like new skill sets that you have to learn. That's the great thing about YouTube. YouTube is such a great resource for learning. And what I can do, so I've actually got a few videos. In fact, that's something I've been kind of trying to share. Is basically after all the hard work of learning how to mix and learning how to produce music, what I have done is I have made these templates, and this excites me so much because what these templates do, it's basically saved settings. All that hard work I've done, to dial in a good guitar tone and to get my drums sounding good, I basically save those settings. So from now on, whenever I go to make a song, there's a lot of copy and paste. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have to play the song, I still have to record it, still have to practice, but there's a lot of copy and paste that saves me a lot of time. And sure, I could probably go in and like dial things in more specifically, but for the most part, it's close enough where it just finishes so much work and it enables me to get my songs out a lot quicker. So I've actually got a video about that. It's called, how to make your demos sound like final mixes. So you might check that out. Now in that video, I kind of give you an overview of how to do it, but there's just obviously the templates I'm using are a collection of everything that I've done since since I've been learning how to produce music. So it's like I can't like go into every detail of how I dialed in stuff. And again, I don't even know if your style of music is metal, so I don't I want to make sure that what I'm saying is actually helping you and isn't just for my style of music if your style is different. But yeah, maybe check out that video. It's called How to Make Your Demos Sound Like Final Mixes. And I know I've got some resources to kind of help with mixes and things like that. I've done videos before on dialing guitar tone and bass and I use program drums. So I don't know if you play real drums. I play real drums as well, but I can get better results and quicker results just programming the drums rather than recording them. I don't even have access to a real drum set to record them. And even if I did, that'd be a new skill set I'd have to learn. For me, it's just easier to program them. But it's funny, I still have to learn how to play the drums for the videos that I do. So yeah, I'm going to read the chat here, but hopefully that kind of gives you sort of a sense of what you can do to hopefully accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. All right, yeah, just kind of reading your chat, and yeah, so it sounds like you're using pedals to basically so are you playing like your rhythm, and then you're using the pedal to keep playing the rhythm while you go ahead and play something else? That's certainly something that you can do. So what I do, the way I make my backing tracks, I'll even show you real quick. So let me. I'm gonna play just the backing track real quick. Here, let me show you something. Let's take this mic off. So 70s to 90s. I go from 70s to 90s, light to heavy rock or pop. Okay, cool. And I see. Okay, so it might be slightly different. If you're doing heavy rock, I mean, there's probably a lot of things that cross over from heavy metal and just hard rock in general. Let me show you something real quick. So I'm going to bring up my DAW. So here's the program I'm using. I'm using Logic Pro. That's what this is called. I'm going to go back to the beginning here. So this is my recording software. This is what I use to make my songs. You can see these different tracks. There's my guitar right there. I have a clean one to switch to. In fact, I'm going to use that today. I've got a song. I've got to switch to a clean tone. Here's my vocals. So if I hit this, you won't hear me anymore. I'm still talking, and yep, there we go. So, yep, that's my vocals right there. And I've got other things for other situations and stuff. But here are my backing tracks. So what this is, I'll go ahead and play this real quick. Here's what the backing track sounds like by itself. Now, I'm not sure what you're listening through, if you're just listening through a phone or headphones or through studio monitors or whatever it might be. So that backing track, it's drums, bass, and guitar. So this song here, this is actually a song I released. This is a song called For You. So when I was working on this song, I programmed the drums, and I recorded the bass, and I recorded all the guitar parts, and I recorded vocals for this song. But now what I have done is the project that I made the song, not only did I export the song itself, but I've exported different versions of the song. So in this case, this is a backing track version of the same song. So the way I did the backing track, the drums are the same, the bass is the same, but this is designed for me to play and sing along with it. So I muted the vocals. But what's interesting, you can still hear background vocals. Let's see. Listen. Those are the background vocals. I left those in. So I only muted the main vocals. And then I took the guitar, and I had to be a little creative because the way I do guitar is for this song and most metal songs. So if I'm doing rhythm guitar, I will record 2 takes of the rhythm, and I'll pan them left and right. So I'll demonstrate real quick. Let's see. Let me put this. There we go. All right. So if I'm playing that main riff for that song, it goes like this. I'll record that, and I'll pan that to one side, and then I'll play it again. Record that, pan it to the other side. So I got 2 rhythm tracks. And then certain sections of the song, I will have lead guitar. So if we go to the chorus, the rhythm is playing these big chords. That's the rhythm for the chorus. So once again, I've recorded that twice. I've got it panned to the left and the right. I think I got that backwards, but then I've also got a layer on there. I've got another guitar doing this. Actually, it's not even doing the palming. It's just going. Haven't played that part in a while, so I can't remember. But it's doing this like little melody thing. And so I play that twice, and once again, I pan it left and right. So technically, there are 4 guitars playing. But in a live setting, unless you have 4 guitarists, that's not what's going to happen. So in a live setting, what happens is one guitarist just plays the rhythm, and the other guitarist plays the lead. So if you listen to that chorus, let's see, you can hear that the guitar is playing the octave and then that melody. The left guitar, if you listen in the left speaker, hear that melody? It's the octave. So I've basically merged the 2 parts together. I've merged the rhythm and the... Oh, hey, Daniel, you're back. All the instruments are recorded on their own tracks. Yeah, I'll catch up in the chat in a second here. All right, so what I was saying was, so basically, I combined those parts. I combined the lead guitar and the other rhythm track. Like I don't want it to just come in only when there's lead guitar. When the lead guitar isn't playing, that's when the other guitar can switch back to rhythm. So sometimes we're playing the same thing, sometimes we're playing different things. It just depends on the section of the song. But yeah, I basically combine those other layers into one guitar track, and I pan that to the left. So when I'm playing for you guys, when I'm playing live with the backing track, it's just the drums, it's the bass, and then it's one guitar playing different parts than me. Sometimes the same part, sometimes the lead part, and that's panned to the left. My guitar is panned to the right. So let me bring this back up. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, if we look at my guitar right here, you can even see that's the pan right there. So that's the center. I'm coming through the middle now. Oh, one second. I'm over to the left. So I pan me all the way to the right. So you'll hear when I come in. Let me play this, and I'm going to let it play by itself, and then I'll come in and I'll join it. All right, now I'm going to come in. Okay, so yeah, so instrumentally, that's like all you need. You just need your guitar, pan it to the right, you know. So I bounced this out, or I exported this. So that's the backing track. It's just, I muted those other elements, and then I bring it into this project here, and yeah, the song is on that track right there, and then my guitar is here. What I'm doing is, so if we look at my guitar track right here, this highlighted one, I'm creating my whole guitar sound through this. So I've actually got a virtual amp on here. This is my amp where I get my distortion, and then I'm sending that through a virtual cab. This is a impulse response loader. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. Basically, actually, I don't even really know how to explain it. Just think of this as a virtual cab. You know, you've got the amp. That's what distorts. That's what you're sending your signal through. But then you got to send it through a speaker. That's what this is. It's a cab speaker, and you can basically choose these different mic placements for that speaker, and that's the core of it. And then I've got these other things just to kind of tweak the tone and stuff. But yeah, my guitar tone is being created directly. In fact, you know, if I were to mute, I'm not going to mute everything, but if I just mute the amp, here's my guitar still coming through, but now it's just a clean tone. Here's the amp, and it's going to sound harsh, and then you send it through a cab, and now it sounds proper, you know. So yeah, so I've got my guitar created on here, and then same thing. Here's my vocals right here. So yeah, you can even see it jumping up and down. Hey, hey, because I'm talking into it. And all I've got on here, it's just my mic. Now my mic is actually going into like some other things. I'm not gonna. That's another. Maybe we'll do that for another video. But yeah, I've got a lot of compression on here. Because the voice is very dynamic, jumping up and down. So I need this compression to kind of cut off some of those peaks and stuff. But main point being, I've got these two things going, and this backing track I play along with it. Now, I will say, when you have a backing track, what you're trying to highlight, you want to highlight you, you know, as the performer. So this is actually something that I only started doing recently. I turned my guitar up a little louder. Originally, my guitar was the same volume as the other guitar. But the problem with that is it kind of just blends in. It almost sounds like you're just listening to the track. Like, it doesn't sound like you're listening to a performance. So I turned me up a little bit so that I would stick out more. And I actually really like it because the backing track is just loud enough where it supports me. It supports me in being able to perform the song, but it doesn't compete with me. You know, the backing track's just a little bit quieter so that the audience can hear that I am playing the guitar, and when I play a solo, it really sticks out, and, you know, because that's what you want to highlight. You want to highlight what's really being played. Same thing with the voice. The voice should be a bit louder than the mix. You don't want it to be too loud. You don't want to, like, overpower the background mix, but it should be obvious. Like, you just want that balance of, you can tell what's the backing track, and you can tell, like, what's really being performed in the moment. So yeah, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. Basically, what you should do is, you know, if you know how to play different instruments, you should start recording your own backing tracks like this. And then you should start playing along with these. If you were to perform, you know, I think I will do a future video about this. I'm going to do a video not only talking about, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I was planning out what my next video is going to be. My next video is literally called, let me see, what did I title it? Yeah, the next video that I'm going to do, like, next week is You Don't Need a Band to Play Metal. Now, again, I'm talking about metal that might not exactly be your genre, but what I'm going to be talking about is how to play metal, you know, which is typically a genre where you need a full band, how to play that genre without a full band. And it's going to be a two-part series. The first part is going to be about production. So I'm going to be talking about how to produce songs and how to make your own backing tracks and that kind of thing. And then the second part is going to be the performance, what you'll need to perform live streams, just like I'm doing, but also live shows. A lot of what I'm using to perform for you guys, this is going to be my rig for live shows. There's a couple other things that I'll need. I was talking about that earlier. I had to order some things just for the venue. But yes, that's right, playing live. I'm going to be going through Logic Pro. I could get rid of one pedal with that cab. Okay, cool. Yep, this is my rig here for when I'm playing live. And what's going to happen is I've got an interface. I don't know if I'm going to touch that right now, so I'll have to figure out how to show you guys. But my guitar is being plugged into an interface. The interface is being plugged into my computer. That's how all that signal is being sent. And right now, you guys, what you guys are hearing is the audio signal from my computer being sent through, I'm using something called OBS. I don't know if you're familiar with that. OBS is a software that allows you to do live streams. I'm sending my audio signal from my computer to OBS. So you guys, the audio you are hearing is from my computer. The reason I'm wearing headphones is because headphones are my monitoring. My headphones are plugged into my interface, and the music that's coming out of that is going into my ears. But in a live setting, instead of using the headphone jack as my monitoring, I'm actually using the outputs in the back of my my interface. I'm going to send those outputs into a direct box, and that direct box into the sound system, so the sound system of the venue that I would be playing at. And that way, my monitoring is the speakers and the stage monitors. That's what's sending back to me. Interesting. So plays parts, but interested in more parts, yeah. And when you say interested in more parts, if you mean more so in having a backing track that enables you to play with more parts, I mean, you can do that. Your backing track can have as many parts as you'd like. In fact, some of the songs that I produced, here, I'll find one for you real quick. 1 second. Okay, so I've got a song, and here's kind of a cool thing. So the way I do this, I've actually got markers. See this marker up here? So, here's my indicator, and then if I hit Control, and then, what is it? It's not the, it's basically period, but, the two little arrows that point left and right. So, bam, I skip to this next marker. So here's how I can skip to song. So here's the next song, and then bam, here's the next song. So I'm going to skip ahead. This song right here, A Place to Call Home, this one's actually got a few background elements in it, especially in the second verse. Let me find that. So you can hear those background vocals. Let me go to the verse. Oh, right here. So listen, you'll hear a lot of elements in the background, like these extra voices that come in. Right here. Hear that choir? So yeah, I got harmonies, I got echoes back there. This was a song that I released, and so I had recorded all those parts. A lot of the songs, I'm kind of trying to release songs quicker, so I don't quite get that elaborate with most of my productions these days. But that's an example of parts, but live, not with backing tracks. Well, if you wanted to do parts, I mean, you could have you could still have a backing track, but have multiple instruments. Now, again, I don't know if I don't know if you know how to play multiple instruments at the same time. If you do, there's probably some way. But let me go back to the stall real quick. So kind of an example of that, I've done acoustic sets before. In fact, I'm planning to do another acoustic set maybe in a few weeks here. But here, where you see acoustics and vocal. So this, what I do for my acoustic sets is I use one mic. And the mic is picking up both the acoustic guitar and my vocals. But then I've also done piano, and I did back in Christmas, I did a Christmas set, and I was doing Christmas songs, and I was alternating between guitar and piano. So not for the same song, for different songs, but still, you could see the possibility there, the possibility of just having two different channels with your settings. So even right now, if I really wanted to, what I could do, and I don't know if this is more like what you have in mind, but um, like I could have a bass plugged in as well. Now you're going to need more inputs. The more instruments you have, you're going to need gear that has more inputs that allows you to plug in multiple instruments. But like I could play guitar and then I could put it down and pick up a bass and do like a bass solo or something, you know. Um, you could have an electric drum kit plugged in and hop on that. So as long as you've got channels to plug in multiple instruments, you can set something up where you hop around from instrument to instrument. So I think whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, I'm pretty sure there is a way to do it. And you could do all that with the accompaniment of a backing track. For example, you could have the backing track play the drums and the bass while you're playing guitar. And then when you put the guitar down, the backing track switches and starts playing a pre-recorded guitar, but then the bass cuts out so that you can fill the role of the bass. So there's definitely room for creativity there. I think there's some really cool stuff that you could do. You could play guitar and then you could put that down and play keyboard for like a cool keyboard solo or something like that, and then go back to the guitar afterwards. One of my favorite bands, Between the Bear to Me, it's actually kind of cool. Their bassist, he's got his bass, but then he has a keyboard next to him, and he plays like synth bass on the keyboard. So different sections of the song, he'll swap from the bass to the keyboard. So you could do something like that. Pretty sure. And in general, you could have multiple keyboards with different settings and stuff. So I think what you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to be like a one-man band, I think there are ways that you can kind of set it up to highlight all the different things that you're trying to highlight and stuff. For me, I'm really just trying to share. Oh, Brad, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, dude. But yeah, so hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas of what you could do. I think there's a lot of ways you can be creative and sort of highlight that. For me, like, yes, I'm promoting myself as a one-man band, but it's more like I'm a solo artist. It's just I think of myself as a composer and as a songwriter first. Like, guitar is my main instrument, but I play. It's just something. It's just a writing tool for me. So yeah, but hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas. I'm just going to catch up on the chat here. I know I was talking about a lot, and you guys were typing stuff. So let's see here. Hopefully that's a good thing if you mean immersing titles. I try to come up with good titles. In fact, usually a technique for coming up with titles is typing into the search and just trying to see what people are actually searching for. So I try to make, content of things that people might actually be looking for, as well as doing like, what I want to do. Ukulele as a lead instrument, that could be cool. And Daniel, when you were asking all instruments are recorded on their own track, I don't know if you were asking about like when I'm playing live. Obviously, the backing track is just on one track. But originally when I record them, yeah, there's an individual track for all the instruments. And even when I program drums, I've actually got an individual track for each element of the drums. I've got, a cymbal track, and I've got a track for each of the toms, track for the kick, track for the snare, hi-hat, all that stuff. And that just gives you more control in being able to sculpt that sound into what it needs to be exactly, and adjusting the balance so that so that everything sits properly in the mix. But yeah, different tracks for the guitars and stuff as well. Let's see. I'll definitely have to check out some of these people that you mentioned, this David Shane, and you mentioned another name earlier. What was it? I'm looking for it. I might have passed it. Oh, Elise Trow, or whatever that might be. So I'll have to look those up and see kind of what those are, or who those people are. Network. Cool. I'm glad these are ideas that you like, and definitely if you end up, if you've got a YouTube channel and you're kind of posting stuff, I'll definitely check it out. So definitely let me know. You were talking about your recording software. Yes, I'm looking for it. Cool. Yeah, I hope you find them helpful, Steve. And if you have any, maybe check some of them out. And then, yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm always looking for, more topics to do with these live streams. So let me know, and I'll definitely dive into some other topics and stuff, and we'll see what happens. So, but if you ever have any questions, just let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. So I was curious if you record all instruments on a track by themselves. I can do this in my software, Vegas Pro. Yeah. So, okay. Cool. So yeah, Daniel, I know you play music, and I know you've written some stuff before. I guess I'd never really asked you if you knew much about like producing music, like recording it. But yeah, ideally you record all the instruments by themselves. So the way I make a song, let's see, I like to start with the guitar and the drums first, and a lot of times when I'm first writing the song, I'll just record like a rough draft of the guitars. And I like to program, I kind of go section by section. So maybe I'm recording, like I'll sort of record the verse or the intro or whatever it might be. And then I'll start programming the drums and trying to find like a beat that I feel like complements the guitar. And a lot of times, as you know, humans don't have perfect timing. So when I'm first recording a riff, let's just say I'm, playing a song like... That might be the riff, and then maybe I program the drums and I find something that works, but then I'll probably have to go back and re-record that guitar part so that it's a little tighter with the drums. Usually, if you just play to a click, and that's the thing too, when you record, you usually set a click track. That's what keeps you on time. But if you're just playing to a click, it's not going to be as tight as playing with an actual drum recording. If there's a drum beat going on, it's just going to make your performance so much tighter because you're going to be able to accent those specific rhythms rather than just a pulse that's kind of a general pulse. It's the drum beat is more specific, whereas a metronome is kind of just a general pulse to keep you on time. So yeah, I kind of go back and forth through the whole song, just sort of recording what I know of the guitar and then trying to program a drum beat that I think complements that guitar part and where they work together, and just experimenting like that. And gradually that might inspire like lead parts for the guitar, so I'll start kind of trying some of that. And then I got to figure out what the bass is going to do. Bass is usually later on. Sometimes I have specific ideas for the bass, but I was actually talking about this earlier, Daniel. You'll have to check it out on the replay, but I was saying how bass is sort of a bridge between the guitar and the drums, and both parts influence what the bass is going to do. So if the guitar is playing a riff, usually the bass is just going to play the root note of that riff. So for example, my song For You, the riff goes like this. So the bass is just playing the root notes. But in a section where you have chords, so say like the chorus, I'm just playing a chord here. The bass will still play the root note of what the guitar is doing, but the rhythm is going to be more in line with what the drums are doing. So the kick pattern is this boom, boom, ka, boom, 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 ka, boom, 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 boom. So the bass is going to follow that. So the bass part is very much influenced by, the note is influenced by the guitar, but the rhythm of the bass is often influenced by the drums. So, yes, all that to say that, that's kind of how the writing process goes. But yeah, and then once you've written the song and you know what all the parts are doing, you record them properly, and you record them each in their own track. You've got a bass track, you've got all your guitars, not just one guitar track. I mean, it's all how you want to do it, but the way I like to do it, I like to have two guitars, so that main riff again that I was playing, I would record that twice and pan one to the right and the other to the left, and then in the chorus when I have layers like the octaves, that's on a separate track. So I still got the two rhythm tracks panned left and right, and then I've got two lead tracks panned left and right. And then usually a solo, like a guitar solo, I would just play that once and you pan that straight up the middle. But yeah, so you've got all these. Yeah, if you look at a project, there are multiple tracks. It's definitely, there might only be 4 instruments. It might just be, guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. But there are definitely more than 4 tracks. So I might have to talk more about that. If you have any more questions involving that, I'll have to go into that. Guys, this stream has gone on pretty long. I'm glad you guys, were very much engaged in the chat. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. I think I've got one more song for you. Let me check my set here. Yeah, I got one more song for you, and then I think this is going to be it. So if you have any final questions, go ahead and share them. But let me play this one last song for you guys, and then I think we're going to call this a wrap. So on this song, actually, let me make sure. Okay, cool. I got to get my mic back in place. But I was showing you guys, or I'll show you right now, actually. So here's the DAW. So this last song is actually with my clean guitar. So I'm going to turn off my distorted guitar, and I'm going to turn on this clean guitar. So let's see, there we go. All right, let me tune. Yep, usually I play in drop tuning. This song is in standard tuning. Cool. All right, this is the last song I've got for you. Let me get this mic back in place. All right, last song I got for you. Hope you like it. This one's called Love's Not Fair.
Staring at my own reflection through shattered bits of glass, showing me the perfect picture of who I really am. But when you look at me, you never turn away, kneeling next to me and picking up the pieces. Why do you care? I know I'm undeserving of the love that you have chosen to share. It's just not fair. I am such a useless failure, falling to the ground. Every effort that I muster is never good enough. But when you look at me, standing next to me and holding out your hand, why do you care? I know I'm undeserving of the love that you have chosen to share. It's just not fair. If I take just one moment away from my self-loathing, then maybe I would notice that I'm not meant to be broken. If I'd take just one moment away from my self-loathing, then maybe I would notice that I'm not meant to be broken. So stop beating up myself. You took the punishment yourself, and it's just foolish pride to think that I could ever hurt myself enough to cover what I've done. It makes no sense at all. Why do you care? I know I'm undeserving of the love that you have chosen to share. It's just not fair. But love isn't fair. In spite of all I am, you chose to die for me, and that isn't fair. But love's not fair.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Let's see, Daniel, you were... Oh, yeah, it is really cool. Yeah, when you can hear the solo guitars. I remember, when I was early in my production phase. So if you guys are familiar with the Rock Band video games, so those games, basically the way they work, they have a track for each instrument. When you play the drums, there's a track for the drums. When you play guitar, it's not just the one guitar. I think it's actually like a panned backing track or something, and then the bass track, and then the vocal track. But because of that, people were actually able to get the solo tracks of that song. So I remember the song "My Curse" by Killswitch Engage. I don't have my distorted tone anymore because I can't shake. But I was able to find online solo tracks of just the drum tracks. So none of the other instruments. You just hear the whole drum performance, and then you could find just the bass track, and you could find just the guitars. And I always thought it was just the coolest thing, just to hear a track in isolation and apart from the whole song. So but that's really helpful, so that you can hear like what a proper guitar tone sounds like. Because it's funny, a lot of times, again, we were talking about bass today. I do think sometimes people confuse that bass for part of the guitar. I even remember my friend who was a vocalist. I was playing guitar, and he was sort of commenting like, that guitar just doesn't have enough low end. And I'm like, I think you're talking about the bass. It's like, my guitar, it's tuned in properly. It's like, if you want more low end, that's not my job. That's the bass's job. And a proper mix, I think people would be surprised to hear what the isolated tracks sound like. A guitar can sound so big and vicious on its own, but just a single guitar, like a proper guitar tone, is maybe a bit thinner than what people might expect it to sound like. Because you have to remember, it's not so much what it sounds like by itself, it's how it sounds in the whole mix. And a lot of times, everything needs to be thinner to make room for all the other elements. If you make your guitar tones sound like really big and heavy, you're not going to have much room for the other instruments. And when you do blend that stuff together, it's just going to sound muddy. It's going to have the opposite effect. So by making things thinner, you're creating more room for everything to fit together, and collectively they create this big punchy sound. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And yeah, that's an interesting question about the MIDI switch. I'm not super familiar with that stuff. Now, I will say this. I know you can automate things. So again, I might have to do this in another video. I will show you real quick. So, all right, let me bring up my DAW. I got to get going. I got to get dinner. But here we go. All right, here's my DAW. Let me show you guys something real quick. If I hit A, boom. What is this, These yellow lines here, these are automation lines. So what this control is doing, this is controlling the fader. So on my guitar, you can see my fader is set to -1. But when I get here, let's see. I saw it just a second ago. There we go, right here. Notice the fader, I have it automated. Watch what happens when I play. I've got it automated so that the fader turns up to plus 0.5. So it's turning my guitar up. The reason I'm doing that is because at this part in the song, that's the guitar solo. So the guitar solo, I want it to kind of stand out a little bit. Since a guitar solo, you're just playing single notes, they're not quite as loud as like these big chunky chords. So here I'm playing chords. And here we go. I've got my guitar back, so. Here comes the solo. So the automation turns up. Whoop. Oh my gosh. That's not how you play it. Try that again. Here we go. So, yeah, so it turns up for the guitar solo, and then as soon as the solo is done, it goes back down to its proper volume. Now, I've also done the same thing for my vocals, and tonight was actually the first night I got to test this out, so I'll have to watch the replay and see how it worked. But there are some songs that just have quiet parts, you can see right here. So my vocals are set to +3, and then during these quiet parts, it turns up to +6. This first song starts off kind of quiet. So you'll even hear the mic. It might turn up a little bit in a second here. So yeah, so now the mic's a little bit louder.
This is where we are. Where else have we been?
And then let's see.
One is gone. I will find it too. Any second now.
So it turns back down because I'm going to get loud at this part.
But will you find me? I'm still waiting.
All right, so the whole reason I'm talking about automation is that you can automate things, and it doesn't just have to be volume. This is set to the volume fader, but you can automate plugins to turn on and off in different settings. So I'm pretty sure you could use automation, like if you're trying to figure out how to switch things or turn something on and off, I could automate it so that the cab turns off. And if I had like two different cabs, like I could automate it where one turns off and the other one turns on. So maybe that's something to look at. I'm pretty sure, if you have a MIDI controller, you can probably look up like, how to use a MIDI controller and see if there are ways to turn on and off, plugins in Logic. I don't know if you use Logic or if you use a different software, but the main point being is there's probably a way to do what you're trying to accomplish. So, but if you could try with the MIDI switch, or you could just try with automation, just like I was kind of doing there. So, cool. Anyway, guys, I hope that helped out. Thank you so much for tuning in. For anyone, if you'd like to support me, there is a link in the description with a virtual tip jar, and I certainly appreciate anything that you're willing to give. If you don't have the financial means to support me, my biggest goal right now is building an audience, so I also have a link to my email list, a sign-up list, and if you would sign up for my email list, I would certainly appreciate that, and I'll be able to kind of, keep you up to date on like my latest videos, latest songs, next streams, and all that stuff, yeah, so definitely join that. Also, if you would just share my videos, don't forget to like them and just share it. Invite other people to come. Share my videos so that other people can check it out. And that's my biggest goal. So anything you can do to kind of help me build an audience, I definitely appreciate that. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's gonna be a wrap. I gotta go get me some dinner, but. If you have any more, questions or ideas for future streams, definitely leave a comment, let me know, and I'll try to get to those things. So that's going to be it for now. I hope you have a good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. Until next time. Let's see.